mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
That's constituency. As we went into the break, Mheshimiwa, you said now your conscience is clear. You vote and make decisions with your conscience. You don't have to be whipped by a political party. You don't feel like you're shackled to a political party position that you must hold on to. Why is this the case? And is this common in Parliament, where members of Parliament, all 290 elected plus nominated plus 47 women rep, all of them always have to feel like they need to dance to the tune of somebody else? And I ask this because we see this a lot. We see this with members of UDA who come and sit here, and they're members of Parliament, and they will speak for the government. They will say, this is what the government is doing, this is what we are doing, this is what this and the other, forgetting sort of that they have a role as Parliament which is distinct from the executive.
We need to understand the workings of Parliament. Parliament is not a Kenyan phenomenon. It's a global issue. Mm-hmm. And if you understand the history of Parliament, it has two aspects. The individual thinking, the coalition thinking, and the party thinking. In the Kenyan context, which is a mixture of the Westminster model plus the American model, it's a mixture. It's not purely a parliamentary, a presidential system. I think that's what we are alluding to. Mm. But there was an attempt to make it appear like a presidential system, which isn't actually. It's not a pure presidential system. Mm. Luckily, I was there when this was crafted and promulgated. You see, why, first of all, politics is a very competitive process. Mm. Why parties struggle, first of all, to dominate Parliament? Parliament is the epicenter of the legislative agenda. Mm. Why parties work hard to win the presidency is the executive arm. These days, even in America, those two combined struggle to use every opportunity again even to dominate the judiciary. I'm sure you have seen the way the Supreme Court politics in America, and not through appointments, not through any other, but through appointment.
Yep.
Now, this has been the case. We have had two major coalitions: the Azimio coalition and the KK coalition. They have independent members and may have many other members who belong to different parties. So the fact that you are a member of a coalition doesn't take away, legally speaking, you are part and parcel of that party. That party has formed the government. You are part of that party thinking because there's a platform, and vice versa. So, meaning members of Parliament completely cannot divorce themselves from their parties. If, for example, you are a KK member, and KK now is the government, you have every right to pursue, promote, project, protect the KK agenda. That doesn't take away your parliamentary role. Because the KK agenda in Parliament is mostly maybe on legislations, on oversight, on budget making, and that again conforms with your individual role as a parliamentarian. Yeah. So me, that I don't see a problem, and therefore those members of KK who are promoted their party ideology, I think they're perfectly in order, because
which comes first? Is it your role as a legislator to oversight, to represent your people, or is it the responsibility?
It is the same thing. It's the same thing. When you do oversight, you are doing your work as a member of Parliament, and you're oversighting the government. Oversight of the government does not mean always that you must critique. You must badmouth,
you must make sure that the government, the executive, does the right thing.
The right thing.
Following the right process.
Maybe what certain individuals expected is individuals who will come here and engage in rhetorical outbursts against the government. That is not the way it works. In democracy, you support what is good, you correct what you think is correctable, and if it's absolutely bad, you oppose it. And that's still present actually in our parliamentary democracy.
Only that we don't seem to see that. We don't seem to see a situation where members of Parliament, whether they come from the ruling coalition, actually stand up against proposals that have come from the executive that they deem not to be working. Even in the previous regime, when the executive was bringing budgets to the Parliament and saying these are big four budget, these are big four agenda budget, these are the projects that we are doing, And then at the end of the financial year, those projects are incomplete. Some of them have not been started, but the money has been spent. There'd be no questions. They'd be going to explain. And that's the same thing that we are seeing even now with Kenya Kwanza. As we talk about a government that is now finding it hard to raise the revenues that it requires, that it's you're not sure whether the money that they are utilizing is being utilized prudently. The projects that were earmarked are the ones that are being run on the ground. If you talk about a law that has been passed, has it followed due process in terms of implementation? We don't see those questions being asked by Parliament.
Eric,
they seem to be explaining why the things are being done the wrong way.
Eric, I believe you have been around.
Quite.
You have been around for some time, and I know you're highly educated. We need to understand the governance structure of this great republic. We have 3 independent arms of government. That is the ideal part. But it's still interdependent.
Yes.
And then we have other emerging arms of government, like what we are doing right now. A few years ago, it was not possible. The members of the Fourth Estate, maybe before the advent of multipartyism in 1991-92, what you are, the critiquing that you are doing, maybe right now you'll be a candidate for detention without trial. That is a critical emerging arm. We must accept. The members of the NGO community is the same. And this is what in global governance platform, it's called Track 2.
Yep.
The informal groupings in now. That being the case, democracy is something very strange. The workings, many people don't understand. The role of the member of parliament, you look at it globally all over, even in America. Like right now, between the Republicans and the Democrats in the Senate, there's a difference of 1, minus the VP. That one senator determines the entire national agenda of, if it is budget right now, there's likelihood of an impasse.
Yep.
You are aware, isn't it? You need to understand, how have the other 49 senators, Republicans and Democrats, how do they take a party position? 49 Republicans agreeing to oppose the government, 49 Democrats agreeing to support the government, then the independent, and then the VP. That is the working. That's why parties actually struggle to have an absolute parliamentary majority, because it complements what the executive does. And that's why when you are going for the presidency, you're also going for an absolute parliamentary majority. In the Kenyan context, I think people still are not clear about what constitutes the role of the member of parliament. First of all, that member belongs to a party, or is an independent, or is a member of a coalition, or forms part of the government. All these things must be taken into consideration when you are doing certain things. Then 2, minus politics. You have alluded to the crisis. Some of the things that we are seeing, what is the work of government? We are lucky that today we are still honoring our international commitments. We are paying our debts. If that was not the case, I can tell you today, you will be looking for a wheelbarrow to carry your monthly income. Our shilling will be like Somalia, our shilling will be like the one of Burundi and this. The fact that our government, led by President Ruto, has struggled to pay our international commitments is kudos. You may not see it. And 2, why the coffers are empty is subject to many different interpretations. One is because of the global problems. You understand it. There's serious recession which has been on. It's not the making of Ruto. It's not the making of Kenya. It has been on. But we must live within it. Living with it means you must do certain things right, which may not be very popular now, but they will be popular in 1 year or 2 years' time. It's just like when you are sick, or you have a sick child. That child does not know the benefit of medicine. You must force the medicine. That medicine will be beneficial as part of the recovery process. So right now, it's true that we have a serious economic problem. It's true that the cost of living has skyrocketed. But who contributed to this? We all contributed. We all contributed.
How?
Because we all contributed, meaning, you see, you have elected somebody. Look at the voting pattern. I don't know how Eric voted. We vote tribally. We vote regionally. We are always driven by a personality cult. And therefore, when you are voting, you may not vote for the best. What has happened? Kibaki did very well. Mzee Kibaki did very well. What was the GDP of Kenya when Kibaki took over? Less than
$1 trillion.
No, less than $1 trillion. Actually, it was about 200 billion. Within 10 years, 1.7 trillion. What magic did he do? Prudency, painful decisions. Of course, the global economic environment was slightly different. I can bet. Take this to the bank and record it today. By early next year, the economic indicators, people will be saying, we now believe what President Ruto was doing. And I'll give you this, and I always use this as an example. Amongst all the countries that have succeeded, and I want my good sister here to know this, among all the countries that have joined the League of Developing Nations, were the decisions popular? The South Korea, the decision that they made in 1968, that has moved them from a struggling economy with no known resources to one of the leading economies today. How did it happen? Painful decisions that have even led to military coups. Look at Indonesia. How did they do it? From a struggling third world, today one of the leading economies. How did Singapore do it? In 1975, I can tell you, when Singapore was about to leave Malaysia, the then Prime Minister, the Senate, was not sure even how he was going to pay the salaries of the public staff. There was a question. They disagreed. They say, no, we are not ready for independence. He said, no, let what happen, we must go. They got their independence. 5 years, Malaysia was paying for the public service salary. I can tell you in 10 years, Singapore was lending Malaysia.
We also saw things.
I want to explain to you. Allow me this last one. China. You know the man who made China this very successful, highly energized, highly developed country? You know the history? Painful. Those things were not popular. If every time we want to ego message the public, do this. Today, regionally, and this should be heard by everybody. Once upon a time, this country was a leading economic hub, a leading infrastructural hub, a leading humanitarian hub, a leading security hub. Today, our GDP is projected to be half of that of Ethiopia in the next 2 years. Compare regionally. Start from Ethiopia. And I want you to cut both in the Horn of Africa, East of Africa, and Central Africa. Start from Ethiopia. Next is, you can compare Ethiopia with us. Next is Eritrea, Djibouti, Southern Sudan, the Sudan, Ethiopia, Uganda, DRC, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania. I'll tell you in the next 2 years, unless we take drastic actions, all these countries will be competing with Somalia and Burundi.
But what are these drastic actions that the government...
The drastic actions are efficiency in tax collection, efficiency in public management, prudent use of resources, minimizing corruption, and proper...
And all these things are happening in Kenya.
It's not a one-day thing. It's happening. Attempts have been made. I'm saying attempts have been made.
They're going on now.
It is your activity. It's you as a citizen, me as a leader. You may not see it today, but it must happen. We left it. For some time, nobody wanted to question. Everybody was trying to say, let me not touch. The fear of unknown. You never wanted to make a decision. Right now, maybe this might be in decision making in leadership. I want you to compare the leaders that we have had. Start from Mzee Kenyatta. Mzee Kenyatta was resolute, firm. Resolute and firm. But the circumstances, because of the ideological conflict, because of the communism, yes, the Cold War, we benefited, and questions were not there, and everything we were getting. Take to Mzee Moi, very energetic, but he may not have been firm. Kibaki, highly skillful,
not firm.
Highly skillful, highly skillful. You will meet and you will find very sober, but he has made his decision.
So let me ask you very directly.
We have my friend Uhuru came and just say, okay, let the status quo continue. He didn't make serious decisions. He just said, okay, he's happy, comfortable.
He didn't make serious decisions.
Which decisions that benefited?
All these infrastructure we talk about, it happened by itself.
If I was asked,
yes.
And
I'm just asking a simple
let me explain to you. If I was asked,
yes,
when we were thinking of SGR, my idea would have been to use the same resources to tarmac all the roads in Kenya, and it will have been enough, and check my initial report on the SGR, and that we did as a member of PIC.
But later on, but he was resolute, and he went to the SGR.
And that is what we are resolute with vision.
Okay.
Now we have a president who has a combination of this, as energetic as Raila, as skillful as Kibaki, as resolute as Kenyatta. These combinations, for now, it's painful. And we all understand. These decisions we are making today ought to have been made in 1963, 1968.
Now, back to my question, Mheshimiwa. Okay? All those things. Let's just look at the last then from Kibaki and the things that Kibaki did in his 10 years. And then Uhuru and Ruto took over in 2013. And the decisions or indecision that we witnessed in the country for those 10 years or 9 years of their presidency. And now you're saying that we have a leader that is making decisions and moving. All of them need to be enabled by Parliament, right? So are we then saying that Parliament enabled the bad years of Uhuru? And that does not then go back to the question that I was asking. Does Parliament actually have a backbone, a spine, or is Parliament usually just swayed by whoever is in power? Today, because you are aligned to the Kenya Kwanza Alliance, you will speak very well about the Kenya Kwanza and the programs that they had. Previously, when you were aligned with Jubilee, you'd speak very well about what the Jubilee programs were. The SGR, okay, yeah, we didn't agree, but you see, it's going to open the country. The debt we need to borrow because we need to grow. In fact, you still give us the same examples. What's the role of Parliament in ensuring that whoever is in State House and running the executive is doing the right things for the country?
That's a very good question. You know, Eric, we have only one entity to call Kenya. We don't create new Kenya every day because of new positions or because a new person is at the helm. We have one country called the Sovereign Republic of Kenya. To that extent, that is a common denominator. So whatever we do must branch off from that very reality, that we have one sovereign republic called Kenya with a national interest. That national interest is your job, it's my job. Kenya must remain as a united, peaceful, democratic country. It's in your interest, it's in my interest, it's in the interest of whoever is governing.
Yes.
Minus that, we do not have a country.
Yeah.
That is my role as a member of parliament. That is the first entry point. The second entry point is that being utilized properly in line with the aspirations and the thinking of the people of Kenya? I'll give you this. In political competition, if your opponent, serious opponent, right now, you are in the media industry. If your opponent in NTV or Citizen is making serious editorial mistakes, will it be your business every morning you wake up and say, correct this, correct this, correct this? Or you work so hard and chip in the areas where they're in business and whatever they might follow and make yourself relevant?
The latter.
Probably the latter.
Later.
Yeah.
So,
In our political competition, why are our friends, the political opponent of President William Ruto, worried about everything that he undertakes? It's because
that's
they
their
know.
job as the
No,
opposition.
they
That's what
know.
you're supposed to do as the
Let me tell you, that is not the work. Let me tell you the way it is. Let me tell you the way it is done. Let me tell you the way it's done. Like right now, the opposition, I said ours is a mixture of Westminster and
American.
the American model. If there is a budget proposal, you prepare an alternative budget proposal and say, look, these are the misgivings, these are the pitfalls of this particular budget, and you present to the public. If there is a legislation, you come up with your own counter legislation and say, look, they have addressed this, or they are trying to propose this, this is my proposal. You, Eric, now as a voter, will be in a position now you have access to.
You're not answering my question. Let me ask directly.
Yes.
Aidan Kainan was in the last parliament. Rigathi Gachagua, Dende Nyoro, Kimani Ichung'wah. All of these people were in the last government. In parliament, did they enable the rot that we saw in those 9 years of the Uhuru administration?
You see,
Did they fail in their responsibility to oversight the executive?
I want you to look at the
Aidan Kainan included.
Yes, agreed. That's a good question. I want you to look at the dictionary definition of what the executive means. Executive. Like here now, you have an executive CEO. That is the person who directs the job description of Eric Latte, the job description of my Undu, the job description of Zemuga, and he's one who has assessed and is the custodian of your contractual engagement with the Standard Media.
Yeah.
You see, the work of the executive, Parliament's work was limited to the bit that parliamentarians must also do. There are certain things the executive had to do because there's a person who was sworn in as the President of the Republic of Kenya, and he had certain task to undertake. I can tell you, we as members of parliament, to the best of my recollection, we have done our bit. We may not have been the best. They may have been lacunas. We may have had missed opportunities. That I can tell you that I will not tell you that we worked optimally. I wouldn't tell you. I wouldn't tell you that what we did, everything was proper. As human beings, we may have made mistakes. We may have missed opportunities. We may have been misguided. That is true, as human beings. But what we are saying, there comes a time. And that's why politics is a process. It's a process. It's a very dynamic process. Even your perspective of your editorial policy today might be completely different from the same month
But you
last
see,
year.
Mheshimiwa, governments are a continuum. Now, the lacunas you speak of and the mistakes you allude to, unfortunately, don't end with the end of someone's presidency. They carry on.
That's why they're being corrected right now. That's why they're being corrected. We have had this menace
But the same people who enabled
Listen, no, it's historical. That's why we have had, look at this. We have had this serious menace of cattle rustling or rustling in Rift Valley. It's been addressed right now decisively. And if President Ruto was somebody who fancies popularity, he's doing it in Northam, in Rift Valley. And I know it's very unpopular, but he must do it for the sake of the national interest, meaning the security and tranquility of every citizen and every part of the Republic.
How can it be unpopular?
How can it be unpopular? The security and importance
I'm saying
of this
you are
to every
dealing.
Kenyan must be popular.
No, I'm saying cattle rustling in Rift Valley. Some are cultural, some are endemic. You're dealing with it. You can see the kind of grumbling that is going on right now. But it requires somebody to make a decision and say, "Look, we must root out this criminal element for the sake of
a quick yes or no, Mheshimiwa. So from what you've said, everything in the country right now under the leadership of President William Ruto is going well.
There are serious challenges of domestic debt, external debt, serious challenges of security. These issues are being addressed legislatively, in terms of the executive. There are serious challenges. Nobody can say the cost of living is very high. It must be addressed. It's going to be painful. So it's not, I'm not going to tell you that everything is going on well. No, there are so many things that are going wrong that are being addressed both in parliament, by the executive, and everybody else who has a very sober mind to deal with issues.
The judiciary.
I'm saying anybody who has a very sober mind, including yourself, including even the judiciary.
Wow.
The judiciary, I'll put this. It is not that the judiciary is bad, no. And I'll be the last person to accept a wholesale condemnation of the judiciary. And I'd say this even last week when I was here. We have great minds, great Kenyans who are serving in the judiciary. But we must also root out the corrupt and the rotten elements within that particular institution. Just like it's been done in all other arms of government.
Adan Kainan, MP Elders constituency. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Time for the news, 9 a.m.
Newswire Dennis Aseto. Jubilee remains being the only option for the Mount Kenya moving forward because the Kenya Kwanza government got power on a platform of lies. This is according to Jubilee Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni, who told SpiceFM that the Ruto-led administration lied but has failed to deliver on their promises, and that as things stand, the ground has shifted and people want change.
Many of us, when elected, we imagine that the party becomes inferior. That's the mistakes I've seen many of us commit in the past, and even those now committing. The party as an institution is a very powerful institution. After 3-4 years, like now, the people are already hunting for where am I going, which party am I going to run on. When I was seated out there, I came across a gentleman who wants to vie. Clearly, Jubilee is the only party that will make sense in Mount Kenya. Unfortunately for the Hustler group, they came on a platform of lies. Yani uongo. It sounds better when you say it in English. Uongo. Kwa sababu even nursery school kids wakitembea kwa barabara, you know the way they run after saa sita wanakibia. Saa zingine wasikia wakisema ni uongo. It's gotten that deep, and you know you can't lie to people in the manner that UDA lied, and then failed to deliver on even one of the promises that was made.
Kioni added that the class was created by the government was a lie. Today, he says that macadamia market has been destroyed, a situation that replicates itself in the coffee sector and other sectors as well.
They were unhappy with Jubilee because they were told the issue of hustler versus dynasty. Hii mambo yote mnaona ikifanywa ni dynasty. Barabara unaona hii inajengwa ni ya kutoa hii miti hapa kwa hii Mount Aberdare kupeleka kwa Uhuru Northlands. Ukiona hii maji inachotwa hapa tunnel hii, hii kahawa mnaona hawa ndio wanauza, hii maziwa yote mnaona yote, hii shida yenu ni ya Brookside. That is how the whole campaign packaging was done from out. It was Hustler versus Dynasty. They had issues with macadamia. Macadamia, when they had an issue with it, was costing 120. Today is 5 bob. They are trying to sell macadamia kwa masichi. Watoto wanatumwa na hizo magunia, enda uuze. Now if you don't sell, wache huko tu, usikuje naye nyumbani. Unajua ile kitu tulikuwa napiga hivi na bano, banta, hiyo brigori. That's what they are doing with those macadamia now.
On the agreements that are being arrived at, Kioni says that the decisions have left Kenya between a rock and a hard place with its neighbors.
Coffee was doing 120. Now it's at 40. And the July peak is still in the warehouse. Hiyo itakuwa borea. Why? Because the people who are selling coffee, who are helping in the milling of coffee, were called cartels. And they were sold and watu wakasema torea sisi cartels. Wanasema afadhali ile cartel ilikuwa inatuuzia 120. You talk of milk. Milk has lost 10 shillings a liter now. And Ruto has signed the agreement with the EU, one of the quarrels that he's having with the East African leaders. Because Uhuru refused to sign and told everybody, when we sign together. He signed the agreement with the EU that allows the Europeans to export milk and eggs to Kenya. So expect our cows to become maridadi tu, maua ya kuangalia.
There is need to motivate and empower women to hold high positions in leadership, including in national government offices. Speaking in Kitale, a lecturer at Moi University in Eldoret, Professor Lumala Masibo, said the time has come to involve women in decisions and ignore the notion that they are weak compared to men.
Why is it that we have majority of the women, but then when it comes to elections, we are all electing the men? Let us change this perception of imagining that women are better in looking after money, but when it comes to the national treasury, who is a CS? A man. There is lack of civic education. Let's think about what do we do on a day-to-day basis to ensure that the girl child in our house is actually empowered. Today, we need to be able to have men who are able to lead the way of empowering women.
Masibo has also urged the government and public organizations to increase efforts to collect data on gender-based violence, to identify those who carry out their vice, and to develop an appropriate method to deal with the crime in accordance with the law.
We need to educate one another. We can't afford to have a situation where men are the ones pushing our girls to go undergo what? FGM. We also need more statistics that talk about gender violence and who are these people behind gender violence. Let's find out what can we do differently to ease the tension that is there between men and women. Let us be able to have a county that fully embraces both gender equality and gender equity.
This is New to I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, it's a few minutes after 9 o'clock. Running, are we? Yes, we are. There's a lot of traffic still on Limuru Road this morning, and coming off of Muthaiga, touching into the city, there's quite some as well. On Gong Road, traffic continues, and there are many spots where it will be bumper to bumper. And it's uncharacteristic that we still have such heavy traffic on the Thika Superhighway at this hour. But hey, we're going to have to roll with the punches. It's heavy all the way from the Outer Ring Junction coming in from GSU through to the Muranga Road Junction. So watch out for that. If you're getting on Thika Road right now, just know that you'll be there for a minute. Okay, on the Eastern Bypass, that's reducing some. And we also have no traffic on Mombasa Road until you get to Rice Park Capital Centre, approaching the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. Langata Road, still some traffic here and there. We're going to keep an eye on things, folks. Let's talk. Spice FM, KE on X.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start
It is
your
7
day.
minutes after 9. We are on to the final hour of the Situation Room this morning. Good morning. Welcome if you're just joining us. And thank you very much for those that have been here with us since 6 a.m. We're here every morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Kiwi says, every day, think about your children
Absolutely.
and school fees.
Yeah, it could be yours or someone else's, but hey, there's something that you could do if you walked into a store today and bought a tin of kiwi, right? It's the new logo kiwi. Pick up a tin of that at anywhere you can buy it. And what you do is that once you buy it, you pick up pop the lid, and under the lid is a number. You'll dial *459 *5# and put that number in when they ask you to do so. Follow the prompt. As you do that, you will get airtime or data. And then what you will do thereafter is you will also get entered into a draw. 4 people every week are winning 35,000 shillings. It's a big deal when it comes to school fees. It will go a long way in sorting out things. Let's do it. Walk into supermarket today, buy a tin of kiwi, dial the number, get your airtime or data, enter into a draw, pay school fees, and life goes on.
Yeah, true.
Simple.
Like that, like that.
Yes.
Like that, like that. EcoBank is a big bank. It's a Pan-African bank. It's sponsoring the Africa Cup of Nations this year, among the sponsors.
Yes, it is.
And it's not just in Africa.
No,
Eh?
it's in Europe. It's in Asia, in the Middle East as well. Middle East, some of the people say it's part of Asia, but hey, okay. It's part of all of that.
And it's saying it's big.
It's big.
Biggest employer in the banking sector in the African continent. Africa. And thinking Africa, thinking banking, think EcoBank. Right? Open the branches anywhere and you are able to transact your business as a business, then you're safe with EcoBank because it's a Pan-African bank.
Yes, it is. Helping business grow, seamless transactions. You could be in Kenya today and sorting out your issues in Cote d'Ivoire, essentially, because EcoBank has made that happen.
Very good. So, Bonamuga,
Yes,
please remind us the day's proverb.
indeed, I will.
Yes.
By all means, trust in Allah. But first, please, tie your camel.
By all means, trust in Allah. But first, tie your camel. Right? You've got to play your part.
My friend, God isn't going to tie that camel. That's for sure.
Play your part. It's
What?
important.
He has
that
given you the camel, then you want him to tie it? Huh? Surely even you, when you sit and think,
Yeah. Ngumu.
not going to happen. Yes.
So now, Ndu,
Yes.
as we've heard from the news with Dennis Aseto this morning, there are parents who are crying to the Teacher Service Commission because the Teacher Service Commission responded to what the parents did
Yeah.
and also listened to what the teachers' unions had said. And this is after exam results came out and the parents and the school community saw what happened to teachers. I mean, what happened to their students, and there was bad performance in those schools.
Yeah.
And teachers were up. I mean, parents came up and said, "Look, this is not just a one-off. This has been a trend. There's been a downward trend in the performance of the students who sit exams in this school." And they attribute it to the leadership and the management of the school. They say in many cases they have an issue with the school head, principal, headmaster, whatever, and some teachers. And then they say, in fact, from today on, why don't you do this? Let's return you back to sender. You leave, go. Let TSC deal with you and bring us another teacher.
Yep.
We don't want you here. TSC has said, you cannot be like that to our teachers. They withdrew their teachers.
All of them.
Yeah.
Let's give it context, shall we?
Yes.
So, 2 exams were written over the last 2 months. 3 exams, actually. By the way, we're still waiting for the results of KPSEA, but that's a totally different
those
story.
ones don't wait.
Let's just give
Move
it a
on.
minute. Okay? So, KCP was written October 30th until the 1st of November. Children finished the last KCP, they went home. Right? KCSE was written a week after that, was written over the span of 3 weeks, and then they did their thing, finished high school. Right? Now, we saw the results come out just a week before Christmas for KCPE and then just after the New Year for KCSE. In both of these exams, there were complaints. There were complaints about grading, there were complaints about marks, and then there were further complaints about placement. And then we saw the largest complaints come about after KCSE results came out. It was vitriol, it was anger. People said it is not possible that we had so many numbers of those who scored less than average results in this exam. It is not possible. Now, 2024 is not the first year that it has happened. We've been seeing this trend over the last few years, but this time we've said we're not going to take it anymore. We saw situations in schools whereby head teachers were frog marched out of the school and said, get out, we don't need you here. If you have no explanation as to why our students performed so poorly, we don't need you here. All right? We cannot continue to accept results. Where am I today as a parent taking a child who has a C-, who has a D, who has a D+, in a school where the highest mark was a C-? That means none of the children who sat that exam will even go to a TVET.
Yep.
That is what the parents were saying. None of them, the highest in this school was a C-. We cannot accept this. And it cannot be that all of these children, all of them, there's not even one who has been able to absorb the learning and the teaching that has been given to them over the last 4 years. Then it is not possible. Even in one subject, you would have passed, for goodness sake. Because the C that you get is an average of
all the things
that you've scored.
Yep.
Even in one, we would have seen something that would have boosted you, and that did not happen. So they said, out. We cannot have this anymore. So the question now remains on the tongues of many. Were parents within their right to demand some kind of value for the time and resources they put behind their children going to these schools to then finish in these exams? One. On the other hand, does TSC also have the right to say, no, you cannot treat us like this? Or should they actually do something about this recurring problem at school? That we just say, after all, it was an exam, and we'll say, it's okay. Some children test poorly. It's okay. Maybe this was a hard exam. There were many circumstances that then contributed to the exam results having come out the way in which they did. Or should we actually take drastic action when it comes to things like this? If the bar has been set by the nation, not even for university, we say now even tertiary, TVET, in order for you to get to a TVET, we need you at a C. C- doesn't cut it. So you have an entire institution that will not even go to a TVET. Should we then say, even ndio maisha iko, and we try again next year? Or do we say, no, cut out this cancer and let's deal with these issues?
Should we ask where the problem is, or should we only say that the teachers are responsible?
Exactly. Should it not be a more wholesome conversation? Because truth be told, will you take all the blame and lay it on the shoulders of a head teacher in X school? You cannot do that.
Who else bears the blame?
There are other
And
questions
how do we
that must
apportion
be
that blame?
asked.
The Secretary General of the Kenya National Union of Teachers, Collins Oyu, has an opinion piece that's been published in the Standard today. I'll read excerpts of it. He says, we need to make it clear to Kenyans that performance of our learners is not an event. It's a conglomeration of various activities and effort such as the discipline of learners, safe and secure teaching and learning space, availability of teaching and learning materials, good organization and mobilization in the teaching and learning processes, and the support of parents and other stakeholders in school programs and activities. It therefore means that all of us have a stake in the process of making the good result that we yearn to see. It's a journey that requires all of us to be on board for the best results to be realized. Parents play a major role, especially in the learning process of students who are day scholars, since they provide learning space and peace that can lead to good results. What baffles us more is the fact that parents seem to be surprised at the result of their own children after the release of exam results. The teachers are wondering, guy, you guys are shocked. It shows that parents do not take keen interest on what goes on in the education of their children. It also shows that there is no adequate communication between the school and the communities. We are particularly perturbed by the fact that our learners, to whom we offer patriotic education that emphasizes on morals and values, engage in shouting marches and frog marching of their own teachers out of school. We are afraid as teachers that communities are not setting good morals and standards and showing good examples to these children. This is what the teachers
so we have a back and forth here, do we?
He's basically saying, look, it's not just teachers. This, as if you see results looking like this, start with the parent. Did the parent provide a conducive learning environment for this child at home? Did the parent support the school in teaching their children? Because if they didn't, then you're going to see the kind of results that we are seeing. This is an end of something that has been there for a long time, but it involves very many people sitting.
You know, when such a thing happens, I am of the view that you don't take a defensive position where one side is saying this, one side is saying this, because the discussion here is not about parents or teachers or the union, it's about students. How is it that of all the years that school has existed, why is it that this one time there is this matter that is being brought to the public domain? Question number one. If the issues that this person has been talking about, has written about, okay, but it is a simple fact and everyone knows, it's not something that you are even subject to debate if you ask me, that there is no Kenyan parent who doesn't do everything within their means to make sure that their child does well.
Yeah.
If there's something that they don't do, they can't do it, they're not able to do it. But the child spends more time when they're a student in school than they do at home.
Indeed.
Now, the role of the teacher is in loco parentis. They're there instead of the parent. That is actually the role. This role, as though these people are chefs in some central kitchen, where once they have cooked, and this is what we've cooked, that's it. And this is it. You do not have a choice as to determine what else you're going to eat. This is the menu, this is it. You cannot treat education as though you're thinking of some business matter where sides are to be taken. There clearly is an issue that must be addressed. And that issue is not being addressed by pointing fingers at parents or pointing fingers at the school. What is it that went wrong if indeed something did go wrong? And can it be addressed?
You know, I think we need to point fingers. I am not sitting around here on one. My finger is clearly being pointed at the Ministry of Education and the Teacher Service Commission. Everybody else is all a story. You want to point fingers at parents? Fine, you can point fingers at parents. But the biggest responsibility lies with those that understand the education system. Those that are experts in the education system. They know what education is all about. They know these are the inputs, the key ingredients that are required for good performance in schools. They know this is what is needed. They're the ones who write the policy. They're the ones who send the teachers. They know this is the kind of quality of teacher that we need. They know this is how we check on the performance of our teachers. If TSC and the Ministry of Education are not doing their job, you're going to see these things happening. It doesn't matter. If TSC had a handle on things, is the Ministry of Education had a handle on things, if parents are not supporting children at home, the ministry would have raised an alarm and said, guys, this is how we need you to support these children.
Absolutely.
As they go through education. If there was an issue of a lack of infrastructure, the ministry would have noticed, because we have people whose job it is to notice. We have people whose job it is to ensure that these children are doing well. There is no way. For me, sending the teachers home is telling the employer and the ministry that you dropped the ball here and you need to take action. You could say, okay, yeah, it's a violent way of doing it. Actually, I don't think there was violence in frog marching these teachers. They were just removed from school. I say, remove this teacher. Yes.
You know,
if a community is unhappy with the performance of their children, they have a right to be unhappy about the performance of their children.
You see, I was responding to that article.
Just one of Collins or you.
Yeah, because someone who has a position of authority like this, and that is his take on it. Come on, man. This is a sensitive issue.
It is, especially when it bears on the future of. If you're looking at it from a parent's point of view, it bears on the future of your child.
In this instance,
all of the children. Let's just take this one school as an example. This one school where parents. We saw all parents in the school of all the candidates who sat KCSE do not have an option of where their children are going to go for tertiary education.
After 4 years.
And this is something that has been set by the ministry. It is not from Mars that somebody pulled out something and said, oh, by the way, let's see if this year we can just make the mark a C. No. It's been set and they said, okay, fine. In order for you to get to university, this is what we need. Now, we also have TVETs in place, but we're going to ask you to at least get to this level before we allow you enroll at a TVET, right? Now, if you do not meet the mark, there's no I beg. There's no, oh, please look at me today and see if I can come in because I look a certain... No, you will not be allowed to enroll in a TVET. You cannot. Now, the same ministry has not brought about a situation where we will be able to handle this issue. Whereby, because they thought it would never happen, where nobody in an institution, there must be at least one person, right, who will get the mark. Never took into consideration that this circumstance that we are facing today could actually be a reality. And say, oh my goodness, how about we have something called a bridging course, like you brought up a couple of days ago. A bridging course so that in the event where we have a problem, we can actually move because we have done what? We have seen the potential problem and we are being proactive in how we can deal with it. Nobody thought about that. Nobody said, let's deal with it. So, do we have a situation whereby there's been a frog in the kettle kind of thing and it's been boiling and boiling until the frog doesn't know it's dead? And then parents, let me tell you what has struck people. Because we asked the question, it's not the first time that people have gotten C, C minus, D. No. But the reality that the institution that you put your child in is not just you. Everybody will not go. So you say...
Everybody basically just got a bad grade.
Yes. And then you say, oh my goodness, what has been happening here for the last 4 years? So the alarm is being sounded, many would say a little too late, but it's being sounded all the same.
I think,
and it points to a problem that must be dealt with across. It is a ministry issue. It is a TSC issue. It is, yes, a parent's issue. It is a student's issue. It's an all-round issue that is not being dealt with and it must be dealt with. We cannot raise the alarm when the results come out. And you cannot tell me that teachers, that's why you have continuous assessment. You cannot tell me that teachers over time did not see, oh, wait a minute, this thing is not going well, but let's hope and pray that exams will bring out the best. It can't. And when I keep saying that there's a crisis in education, these are the things that we're talking about. That even the matter of what is being delivered to students over time has dwindled in terms of its quality. What do you expect? You put in something, that is what you're going to get out. You cannot put beans in the farm and expect avocado to come out. It is not possible. So what questions are we asking about the quality of education that's being delivered? What questions are we asking about the benchmarks that are put in place to... That's one thing I agree with Sosion. When we talk about quality checks, why? What is going on?
Oh, he was spot on.
He was spot on there. Why are we not asking questions? And then you expect miracles to happen. Bana, it's not possible.
You know, I don't know of any school, any government school that doesn't have a parents' association. I don't know. One of the reasons why you have these associations is so that matters arising in a school can be addressed with the parents as well. This is not a board of management meeting, it's parents. And these parents have the power and the means to address the board and bring this. You know, they have all the leeway. And by the way, if it's a school within a community, those members in those boards are community members. The chairman of that board is likely to be somebody who's in that community. I was one such person. That's why I'm speaking so confidently.
Let me ask you, CT, at those times, would you have parent delegations or people who just pop in to ask you, Bonamuga, what's happening? Things are not, we are not... Do you have people who would come in?
In this day and age, they'll call you.
Did they used to come in regularly and say...
They'll call you and tell you, look, when you're next around, pass by, so we tell you what's going on. We have this problem. Some will say, if you're far away, let me just tell you this is what is happening.
This is what is happening.
When you're next by, if you can take the time, come and see it for yourself and talk about it.
Where chunguza?
Yes.
This man who was frog marched, do you think it is the first time? I'm wondering. Do you think it is the first time that parents have sought his audience?
I don't think so.
Parents actually said.
Exactly.
Parents said.
We have been talking to these
We have
people.
been trying to have conversations with his head. This school head is hardly ever in school.
Thank you.
This school head appears to be running his own businesses. This school head appears to have been doing. This is just one school, Isongo Secondary. There were others.
Yes.
There were other schools. There's a school I remember. Where was it? In Narok County, where they said, for the last 7 years, we've just been getting E's and D's in this school. And if you look at the infrastructure of the school, you can see money has actually been put into trying to build a school here.
Yes. So
A community has put in effort to build a school. A community has put in effort. They are sending their children to school, because you can't say to parents, oh, they are sending their children to school. After you send your child to school, you've done your bit. The next thing is let the teacher now come and tell you, now we need this and that support from the community, so that these children, we can educate these children better. They didn't. These parents were saying 7 years of bad performance. Every time we are asking and we don't get sufficient answers, and it appears to be this teacher is just playing it easy. And that's why enough is enough. Out. Go talk to your employer.
But for us, we are done with
As
you.
guys, we are done. We saw it as well. Was it in one of the coast counties? Was it Kilifi or Taita Taveta? The other one that Edna you had shared. Right? Same thing. It is not a one-off. It's not until last year people scored and then this.
It's been happening,
it's
and
been
they've been
happening.
complaining.
It's been there for a while.
And and it's clear you're not doing anything. You're not addressing the issue.
Yeah.
You know, any time you have a problem such as this, it has nothing to do with those particular exam results. It's cumulative. It's something that has been happening over a period of time.
And at the same time, when something like that happens, when a school produces all E's and D's and just one C minus or a C plane, this should make everybody stop what they're doing. The next thing that you ought to be seeing there are officials from the Ministry of Education coming to say,
Hold on.
you, teachers,
What's going on here?
did you actually notice that this is what these children are getting? Did you? I've seen actually in some news items where school heads have said, we admitted guys who got 100 in KCP. What did you expect?
What do you expect?
Sasa kama umetuletea watu wa 100
Nataka kwenda A plane.
Actually, 100 ikuwe A.
It's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword. And it's a double-edged sword in this respect. One of the things that tests your ability as a teacher, that question should be asked of Alliance, Mangu, all these national schools that
that take 400 plus.
those ones. That's the question you should ask of them. Has everybody gone to university? If they wanted to. If they haven't, you should answer, because
No, did everybody get A and A minus?
Yes,
they
now.
should, because they
That's the bar you set.
Yes. But the reason why that question is never asked is because if you ask any teacher, they'll tell you that exams are strange things.
Yes, no.
You can get an A student who does badly in exams. It's exams that freak them out, and they may not perform well. Or something may have happened. Then there are what you call late bloomers. There are people who don't seem to do very, very well, or they're early bloomers. They do very well at an earlier stage, and as life goes on, somehow they are not quite what they seem to promise to be. Or sometimes you put them in an environment that doesn't suit them. They may be everything that promises, but the school you've taken them to is not a place which is a good fit for them. It's not even complicated. That environment they will not thrive in. You take them out of that and put them in a different environment, you'll be shocked at how well they thrive.
You know, we're asking for some kind of intervention to take place by this conversation.
Yes.
And you know, for me, whereby education has been set, it has been set by a system of government.
It has.
It has. Over which government has control. The government does not have control over what happens in your house and what you teach to your child. But where they do have control is the very thing that they have set up. So that is where we need to demand qualitative care. We have to. And ask the question that over time, this thing that you have prescribed for learning for students, are you sure that it is meeting the mark of quality through and through? Not when you check, through and through. That is where we can demand. And that is not happening. And that is the truth.
Yeah.
You should at least see some kind of improvement. The one who got 100 when they were coming in, you never know the circumstances under which they did. But can we see some kind of improvement over the next 4 years? We should be able to. We cannot damn children to uselessness and say because they came in with 100, so therefore they shall remain until they finish. No. So what quality have you set in to ensure that learning is taking place in a wholesome, qualitative manner? And it is not happening.
Yeah. Let's take a break. It's 27 minutes to 10. After this break, we want to open the phone lines and hear from you. Was it right for parents and students in some cases to frog march teachers whom they felt were not performing in their schools? Was it right for parents to frog march teachers? Or is it right for them?
Was it right or was it right?
Is it right? Is it right? So that it can be a continuous process. Even today.
We continue today.
Yeah.
You misbehave?
Even today, if you think, where? Out. Kiwi is reminding you why you need to think about school fees.
Yeah. As they demand that you stay in school, please walk into supermarket today, your shop where you can buy the new logo Kiwi. Star 459 # is the number you need to remember. Even if you don't, there's a yellow starburst on the tin. You get airtime and data when you do that, and you enter into the code and you enter into a draw for people every week, 35,000 shillings towards school fees. Step up and shine.
Indeed. And carrying it is also reminding you that it's Kenyan, okay? Kenyan to the core. This is actually what it means, because it comes all the way from the ground. It's filtered through Kenyan rock. It comes out with all the ions and minerals, and it makes sure that, when it comes to taking water, it's not just water, it's carrying it water. We'll be back shortly after this break.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's critical that people pay taxes. But then taxation has to have a limit. When you start overtaxing people beyond certain limit, then this is now we call robbery with violence.
We are all struggling, but we don't show. If you're not doing well, shame on you. But you have to say, I'm broke and I'm struggling. We are not okay until everybody is okay.
We are pretending to have political parties. Why don't we just be honest? And we say, these are the Luyas, these are the Kambas, these are the Kikuyus, and we find ourselves in Kenya.
With politics and leadership, no matter what you do, there will always be a complaint. There will always be the assumption that you're either stealing or you're not doing things right. As a leader, don't fear. If you know you're doing the right thing, you've thought about it, you've got an expert advice, do it, then understand later.
This country, we don't need prayers. Prayers is between you and God. Good governance and thinkers who care about the country and not their stomach.
That's what we need.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
All right, looking a little bit better as we come out of traffic hour this morning. There's still just a little bit left coming off of Langata Road. It's bumper to bumper as you get onto Uhuru Highway, and we'll see, little to no movement on Uhuru Highway as you get out towards Haile Selassie and then through to the city. Inbound traffic around Chiromo towards University Way is also at a standstill as those traffic lights open. It's busy on the Thika Superhighway, still looking at bumper to bumper through towards the CBD. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X through the morning.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
You download the Maramoja tab. The Maramoja wallet, you get 50% bonus on the amount that you've put. If you use Maramoja Taxi app today and you use the code SPICE30, you get 30% discount on your next ride. As in you're just getting. If you're a driver and you've signed up for Maramoja Taxi and you get hailed today by CT or by anybody who's using a Maramoja Taxi, you get more money than you'd have gotten if you used any other app. If you are using Maramoja Taxi today, you get lower fares than you'd have gotten should you have used anything else. Sasa surely.
Can life get any better, really?
Watu wanatakanga nini? What do people want? Eh? Hey. Hii si ya mambo ya tuta. It is happening. It is happening. So, we want to hear from you this morning, 0719-012-600, 0719-012-600. Was it right for parents to decide to treat teachers the way they did? Frog march teachers out of school and say, my friend, tuonane mbele. Lakini si hapa kwetu. Was it right or was it not? City?
You know, one does not know the angst that had been building over time that eventually led to this. Parents, in many instances in communities where their schools are supportive of their school because that is where their children go to. For them to take the action that we saw, many people thought that the first reaction was to condemn. The first thing I'd pause and say, what really is happening here? What is it that happened?
What are we seeing?
Yeah, what are we seeing? What happened to get these parents to get to this stage? Because they must have, you see, it wasn't one parent, it was many. It means they sat, they talked, they discussed, they came to an understanding. All villages have sub-chiefs, chiefs, they have authority, they have MCAs, they have leaders whom they listen to. If this is what parents did every day, it will be an epidemic. It will be every time there are results, we see this all over the country. It's not the only school in the country where children have done badly. Why this particular school? That question has to be asked. Why this school? And the frog marched. Did they beat the teachers?
It could be what was put out into the open. You never know what the dynamics were on that day. It could be that angst was met in other places as well, but we saw this one.
It would have been reported.
Yeah.
Believe me, matters that concern children and matters that relate to schools are often brought into the open. And if that had been the case, TSC themselves would have complained.
I think so.
The unions would have brought up the issues.
That's true. I think that also maybe the gravity of this particular case was so much that it came out into the open in this manner. But I do believe that there's other irritation or agitation that's coming from different quarters. It cannot be that this is the only one.
This school administration, the teachers were not getting along with this community.
They were not getting along, number one. They had tried to get in touch over these matters before. It didn't happen. But I think that there's a general dissonance, or there's a general dissatisfaction that had then gotten to fever pitch levels, and we saw this in 2023, that never before had we seen. Look at KCPE. There had been dissatisfaction with results, but there had never been an outpouring of that, so much so that we saw people going to court. That had never happened before. 2023 was a year where so many things were changing, transition, especially in this sector. And people said, you know what? This is our opportunity to make a bang out of it because we will never get a chance again. We also saw in this 2023 where they were saying, we're scrapping out this 844. What did parents do? They went and enrolled their children in school so that they could sit that last KCPE because they wanted that result. So now we already know the mark that results bears on the future of education within children. You want that exam result. You want that thing. So you can imagine that this is what it is marred by. You think people are going to be happy? And that's interesting because Washo has a comment here and she said, you know what? It was right for them to frog march teachers. Unfortunately, their negative impact on the children lasts a lifetime. And that right there is the crux of the matter. It lasts a lifetime. You cannot come and be playing around with people's future. In this case, what future do they have if at the level that has been set by the guardian of education in the country, they cannot even attain it, and it's for life. Unless you go and enroll them to sit exam again in 2024
and look at what an average Kenyan parent or average Kenyan parents do for their children are willing to do.
Yeah.
Many of them understand what they didn't do or what they were not enabled to do or what circumstances prevented them from doing. And they look at their station in life. And many parents don't want the same station in life they have for their children
to happen.
They want a better one.
Absolutely.
That is what school represents for them. And that examination and the results is evidence of this. Now, what do you think a parent feels when they themselves know the sacrifice and what they go through to ensure these children go to school, and then those results appear? Think of this parent and what it is they are now confronted with.
Yep.
What do you think? Some of them even have debts they haven't finished paying.
Yes, no.
Some of them can't go and collect the results because they haven't finished paying the school fees. What sort of pressure do you think this parent is under?
It's a total loss.
Serious.
It's a total loss.
Some of them were even saying on TV, look, sasa hapa, vijana wetu wote, you'll see girls is just getting married or just getting pregnant. If it's boys, they'll just now be here. They have nothing. They cannot even go to the local polytechnic, the county-run polytechnics. They've gotten an E. This is it. What am I going to do with this boy?
He's done.
So he's here.
And imagine that situation whereby the person has not finished paying school fees.
Yeah.
He can't even get his results.
Let's go to the phone lines. Boaz Oruku, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. Good morning, team. And thanks for making this a serious conversation in the morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I just wanted to chime in, and I realize that a number of the issues your team is already raising. But let's calm down first and go back to the basics. One, we are dealing with children in this case. And when we are dealing with the children, the basic principle is that the best interest of the child prevails. Whatever decisions that we take, as those people who are responsible for taking those decisions must be guided by that. Why do I say so? It's because one, however wrong or right the reaction of the parents and the local leaders were, there's a responsibility that the Ministry of Education holds that should have ensured that they went to the bottom of the issues so that they help this school to overcome those challenges. But when you see a TSC quick to pull out the 17 teachers, 17 TSC teachers, and of course we are talking about 17 TSC teachers against a capacity of 30 or thereabouts, because we were not able to establish actually the total composition that would be required and the total number of the DOM teachers. So when you are dealing with a school that already the students, the teachers are not adequate in number, the environment that should be provided for them to be able really to deliver is also not very conducive. The interaction between the key stakeholders in that school, we are seeing the stakeholders being the teachers themselves, being the parents, and the primary stakeholders themselves being the students, really not very conducive. And then, results come, and then people act in this kind of ways. First and foremost, we should understand where Kenyans are. Generally, Kenyans are very stressed. Other factors which are not even related to the school management and performance that could also come into play. But why must we restrain ourselves? Because you never know why that really popped out. We should have been very, very sober. We should have first even had a session where these CSOs, we have curriculum support officers within the region. Yeah. We have the curriculum support officers.
What's their job?
Their job is to support the teachers and the schools to address or to deliver on the curriculum and to address any challenges that there could be. You should be asking yourself whether the county or the sub-county director of education has been having those conversations when they see that the performance is not right. The first thing that should have happened is for that kind of a consultation to take place. Two, we should have also been looking at, this is the time that we are admitting the first years, or rather,
Form 1.
The Form 1. You are admitting the Form 1s, and the first thing that they see is a kind of a scene. These are children. These are people who are below 18, even those who are in Form 4. These are children. We should not be really giving them that very difficult choice to start thinking that in life, if you want to have your voice heard, you must really just do it the way they've seen it done there. So I do condemn in the strongest manner possible the way the reactions emerged, and even from our unions. You do not come and start projecting yourself that we are protecting teachers. When there is a mess in education, like there's a big one countrywide today, I think we should sober up and look at how do we help address it in a way that would protect the best interest of the child.
Okay.
How do we, as key stakeholders, consult and preliminary, because if it was a case where we start the step 1, 2, 3, 4, it would have been good to have conversations with those key stakeholders of the school. It would have been good then to see where the gaps are. I know they could have done this in the past, but now that this major issue has emerged, I think mass failure, we should have been looking at that. And two, also in terms of the results, Eric, our system is condemning so many young people, and I say they are being condemned and hurt. They are being condemned because they are being relegated to undertake studies in situations not conducive, and then this uniform exams, which is being administered to them, is one that is administered to all the others.
We hear you,
who are
boss.
excellent. Yes.
We hear you. Thank you very much.
Well,
thank you for your call.
Thank you.
Thank you, boss. Amos in Nairobi, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Tim.
Morning to you.
Now, my name is Amos. I'll first concur with the discussion which has been going on. It is true the parents were hungry, and we support that, but the way they carried out themselves, that is now where we depart. Because it's like they are showing our children that in case wherever you feel like you are not okay with the result or whichever way,
violence is the
then this is the way. Yeah, violence is the way. I suppose the parents could have gone maybe even to the education officials, like the sub-county director of education, in that manner at least, or even they can even seek the audience of the media, because I don't think these children, they just joined there in Form 4. They have been there. It has been a process from Form 1, and they have been seeing their performance. What we are not sure is from Form 1 to Form 3, how have they been performing? Were they expecting much than what they got? Were they doing good? And if yes, they have been performing poorly, then what effort even as the parents have they been putting in place? And this one is not just in that school alone. It goes a long way even to many other schools. And I support what the former union chair, Honorable Sosion, said, that we should be, it's supposed to be a continual process. We should be tracking the performance of our children. We should be having the supervisors assigned by the PLC, and even as the parent. City said that he was once a chair of a certain school, and even me at some point I was there. So most of the time we always engage, and you can see these things. You can always know what to expect. So if it comes that way, it's something you've been breeding throughout the schooling period, and then now all of a sudden now you are surprised that they got the grade they are getting.
So Amos,
and you cannot. Yes.
You don't support the action that the parents took.
I support. What I don't support is where it was directed. It should have been directed to a different place.
Oh, not the school head.
not the school head.
Okay.
There are other mechanisms. Even if it was to go to the sub-county education director, at least now you can say they can come to the school, then we can have a discussion on the way forward.
Do you support the response by the TSC?
Yes, if I was at TSC, I would have done the same way. We are assuming that maybe they have not been engaged. That is an assumption. We are not sure that they have been engaged previously on the performance of the head.
Yeah.
But because the information is scanty out there, so we just know that maybe it is the first time they are also surprised as we are surprised.
Okay.
But if they have been engaged, if they were engaged maybe previously, then whatever the action should have not been the same way they have done. They should have used another method, maybe engagement. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Amos. Asante sana. Winfred in Nairobi, good morning. Hello, Winfred. Hello.
Mimi ni Ngazi. Ngazi.
Yes.
Niko wangu alifanya class 8. Sasa mimi nilikuwa naomba mtu mwenye nisaidia juu mtoto wako kwa nyumba, sina chochote.
Mtoto alifanya standard 8? Ameitwa shule gani?
Aliitwa, niko Nairobi, aliitwa shule inaitwa Embakasi Girls. Nimezunguka, nimetafuta usaidizi, hata hiyo alikuwa anapeana ya elimu sikupata. Nimetafuta ya Equity sikufanikiwa.
Na ya CDF?
Nilijaribu pia, nikienda tunaambiwa basari zishapeana. Zimeshapeana.
Na hiyo shule umeenda, hiyo Embakasi?
Nilienda.
Ukaambiwa nini?
Wakaniambia vile msaada serikali ilitoa, alikuwa ameshagawa zikaisha.
Mtoto alipata points ngapi?
Alikuwa na 350 marks.
Majina yake ni?
Anaitwa Natasha Wairimu.
Umesema aliitwa shule gani?
Embakasi Girls.
So Embakasi Girls wamekataa kumchukua?
Alisema ile pesa walikuwa wamepewa ya serikali ya kusaidia watoto wajiwezi, walikuwa wamepewa nafasi ya watoto wawili na walipeana iliisha.
Kwa hivyo hawajachukua mtoto wako?
Hawajachukua mtoto wako kwa nyumba.
Na hii school iko constituency gani?
Iko?
Constituency gani?
Embakasi.
Embakasi gani?
Embakasi West.
Okay. Sawa.
Watu wamekusikia? Mambo ambayo unaweza fanya ni enda kwa hiyo shule, ongea na mwalimu, ongea na mwalimu mkuu, mwambie shida yako mahali imefika na ABCD. Pia endelea kuongea na MP mambo ya pesa ya CDF. Na hapo kwenye nyumbani chief anakujua. Headmaster ile shule alikuwa anakujua. Wakuandikia barua ya kuonyeshana that huyu mtoto ni vulnerable. Barua ikiandikwa na nyumba 10, iandikwa na chief, iandikwa na headmaster wa primary school. Hizo zinasaidia ukienda kwa ofisi ya CDF, ukienda kwa shule, ukienda kwa ofisi nyingine yoyote, hata ya county, hata wizara. Ama ukienda kwa mfadhili yoyote, uko na barua inaonyesha.
Ukifaulu piga simu tueleze, usipofaulu pia piga simu tueleze. Sawa.
Asante Winfred.
Nashukuru, asante.
Hai. Solomon Inthika.
Yes, habari zenu?
Mzuri kabisa.
Mimi ninafikiria hivi, tatizo la ukweli kabisa katika elimu yetu ya Kenya, watu hawana, tunakosa kitu kimoja. We are lacking the right mindset towards achieving actually the right education, because when you see yes, what the parents did is not right. But how do people come to that point of doing what they did? Because they have seen in Kenya things don't work even if you complain somewhere. It's not easy to be heard in Kenya.
Yeah.
And at the same time, when you think also of the teachers, when something like this is happening, they are not involving. It means the teachers and the parents don't have communication. Kwa sababu watu wakijenga uhusiano, then kunapatikana nafasi ya dialogue. So sometimes you go to school, you try even to talk even about one student having a problem. Yale majibu unapata kutoka kwa walimu yanafanya hawapendezi. So ndio watu wafikie kufanya uamuzi wa kufanya jambo kama hilo. Kuna sababu imecause hizo vitu zote. So kuwa na uhusiano kati ya walimu na wazazi na wanafunzi ndio kitu inakosa, ndio sababu matatizo ambayo tunayaona. Na pia lazima tukubali serikali pia kuna sehemu nyingi sana inashindwa kutekeleza majukumu yao kama serikali.
Okay.
So haya ni matokeo ya kufail. We can say like that. When the systems are failing, then everything is going that way. Matokeo ya kitu ni kile ambacho tunaona kwa nje.
Thank you, Solomon.
So we need to look for the root cause.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Finally, let's hear from Kuria in Thika. Good morning, Kuria.
Hi, morning, Eric. How are you?
Very well.
I'm not from Thika, but Nyeri. This is the usual Kuria.
All right. The same Kuria of Nyeri.
Now, I get somehow disturbed by that thing or that issue that happened. One, I have one question. What if those teachers are very rude to the parents to an extent where even there's some cases and they're in public?
Yeah.
Mwalimu anaambia wazazi, mimi hata msipofanya ABCD sio lazima nikae huku, naweza pelekwa Nyeri. So already there is a disunity in that camp.
Yeah.
Secondly, what if that teacher is always a drunkard in that village town?
And is known.
And he's known. And when you talk to him, he tells you, mimi najuana na watu wako kwa TSC. I'll give you a very physical example.
Yep. In 30 seconds, we conclude.
Yes, there's a school in Nyeri County called Watuka High School. In 2021, it had a population of 460 students. As we speak, there are only 60-something students. We had to do a harambe to make sure that that school comes back to life. Whose mistake is it? Now, if they don't perform, the parents will feel aggrieved. Do the sub-county or the directors of education have a meeting with the parents to ask them, what is happening? Are you okay? Yes. Are you not okay? No. What do they have such an issue?
We hear you. Got to end. Kuria, thank you for your call. Have a lovely day. And thank you for tuning into the Situation Room today. We've got to end it here. See you again tomorrow. It's 10 a.m.